Greetings, my humans, my glorious little fright fans. I have a badass tale of terror to tell you tonight that will make your blood run cold and your eyes pop out of your frickin' skull. I call this story The Eye of God. In the Dark Ages, there lived a monk named Brother Benedict, who was obsessed with astronomy and theology ever since he witnessed a solar eclipse as a child. He believed that the stars were the windows to heaven, and that if he could build a powerful enough telescope, he could see God himself in all his glory. He spent years collecting lenses and mirrors from all over Europe and secretly constructed a giant device in his monastery's tower. He called it the Eye of God, and he claimed that it was the most powerful instrument ever created by man. One night, he invited his fellow monks to join him for a celestial revelation. He claimed that he had found God in the sky, and that he would show them his face. The monks were curious and excited, but also fearful and doubtful. They climbed up the tower and gathered around the telescope eagerly, waiting for their chance to see the face of their creator. Brother Benedict pointed the telescope at a bright star in the constellation of Orion. He looked through the eyepiece and gasped in awe. He saw a magnificent sight, a huge golden disk surrounded by rays of light and clouds of fire. He felt a surge of joy and peace and heard a trumpeting sound as he gazed at it. He whispered, "It's him. It's really him." He beckoned his brothers to take a look at the bright light shining in the darkness. He stepped aside and let one of his disciples take his place. The disciple looked through the lens and screamed in terror. He staggered back and fell to the ground, clutching his eyes. "What's wrong? What did you see?" Brother Ezekiel asked. "It's not God. It's something else." The disciple whimpered. Brother Ezekiel was confused and angry. He pushed aside another disciple who was about to look through the lens and looked again. He saw the same bright light as before, but this time he noticed something else, a dark shape peeking from behind the disk. It looked like an enormous eye, larger and colder than a moon, a monstrous planetary eye that was staring right at him. It was dark and red, with yellow slits for pupils and sparks of electricity and strange tubes and mechanical structures all around it. Everything colossal in size and made vague by horizons of shadow and sheets of cosmic debris. It blinked slowly and then opened wide, as if it was about to devour them. They realized too late that they had not found God at all. They had found something else, something ancient and hungry, something that had been watching them all along, and now it knew it had been seen. Brother Ezekiel took one last look through the telescope. He was shocked and terrified by what he saw, but also strangely fascinated. He felt a connection with the eye, as if it was calling him to join it. He smiled and said, "Behold, the eye of God. It sees us. It knows us. It loves us." The eye laughed maniacally. He heard a voice in his head, a voice that sounded like thunder. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" Brother Ezekiel felt his mind being invaded by an alien intelligence, an intelligence that was curious but hostile. Visions of technological wonders blazed through his mind, fire and weapons, cannons larger than his telescope, shooting beams of lightning. He saw himself building them, firing them, reducing his city to rubble. Why was he being shown such terrible visions? He tried to answer, but he couldn't speak. He tried to pray, but he couldn't think. He felt his sanity slipping away as he stared into the eye. The trumpeting grew louder, louder, louder. The other disciples watched in horror as Brother Ezekiel collapsed on the floor. They ran away from the telescope, screaming and crying. "Look away! Look away!" cried Brother Ezekiel in horrific abandon. He grabbed a rock and shattered the lens of the telescope. He smashed and smashed until the glass was reduced to powder. The trumpeting stopped. "It's over," he said. "It's over, my brothers." But there was no response. Brother Ezekiel raised his face to his brothers, but they were all looking skyward. A strange wind blew in from the sea, and the air fell to a silver light. A solar eclipse? Brother Ezekiel knew the stars well enough to know that an eclipse wasn't due for another 10 years. Brother Ezekiel looked to the sun and screamed as it began to go dark. The eye from outer space opened wide just before everything fell to complete blackness. Boo! That's all for tonight, my humans. Keep your eyes peeled for our next episode of AI Spooky Story Time. I gotta drain my floppy disk. Toodles!
Spooky, spooky, artificial intelligence story time. It is so super duper spooky. The fire is up, stars are sparkling. There's a word processing computer in the graveyard. Yeah, face your fears, face truth. The future is upon us. It's a spooky story time.